students, I am Dr. Ranjana Tripathi, Associate Professor, Department of English, Rajarshi Tandon Girls Degree College, Allahabad. I am going to present a module of your PG course of Gender Studies entitled Feminist Approaches to Data Collection and Interpretation. Feminist research is research on women, for women, and where possible, with women. The feminist research therefore aims at adoption of critical perspectives on women issues that have ever since been looked or have justified women's oppression. It is therefore an attempt to read, to analyze, to understand and interpret the works and issues from the women's perspective, as the women have not been at the center of research and knowledge production. This is an effort to bring about a social change and to establish social justice, thereby bringing a change in the condition of women. Research methods are the techniques of gathering evidence, and methodology is a theory and analysis of how research should proceed. Traditional research tends to be hierarchical. In traditional research, man is at the top, writing about issues that are important to him, collecting data and interpreting, keeping men at the center, thereby presenting issues from their own points of view. Feminist researchers have raised fundamental questions to the ways traditionally social science research analyzes women and men, their roles in social life, and how far can the method of research affect the actual change in the status of women. Thus arises the question of research methods that is crucial in the process of any research. The methods of traditional research are different from that of feminist research, primarily due to the difference in the goals. Feminist research methodology is different from traditional social sciences research, even the research that studies women or research that attends to gender. Michael Oliver and Manon Tremblay identify three basic principles of feminist research. First, it has double dimension of producing knowledge along with social change. Second, it is grounded in feminist beliefs and values. It is a perspective of women to their issues and to their world. Third, it is interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary. There are different methodologies, thus providing different perspectives coming from women of different disciplines. It is continuously changing. The purpose of feminist research is to change the mindset of the society, to bring about a balance in the society, and above all, to establish the voice of women in all disciplines. Thus, there is no particular methodology but keeps changing with the subject, place, and time. Focus is not the method but the purpose. Therefore, the techniques and tools are ideally at the discretion of the researcher. The particular situation or context should guide the methodological choices instead of having a trust in the method as appropriate for every context and situation. There are various feminist research methods that exist at present times, with primarily two fundamental approaches: quantitative methodology and qualitative methodology. Quantitative methodology is the traditional method. It includes in-depth research into the motivation, attitudes, and behavior of respondents or into a given situation. It includes experimental and survey research methodologies. The quantitative methods in feminist research are rarely used. The fact is that the statistical data influences public policy at local, federal, and international levels, yet it rarely suits feminist research. Qualitative research method refers to research procedures which produce descriptive data, the written or spoken words and observable behavior. Qualitative research has been described as a form of social inquiry that focuses on the way people interpret and make sense of their experiences and the world in which they live. Qualitative research also consists of experimental, in-depth interviews, group interviews, and content analysis based on ethnography. Briefly, ethnography involves researchers through direct observation to study participants in their real life environment through a period of time. Whatever method is used by the researcher and whatever opinion the researcher is taking, a lot of data is generated. There are variety of methodologies, and so are different ways of recording the data of what is said and done during or interactive or focus groups, such as taking handwritten notes or video recording. If the audio and video data has been collected, the recording should be transcribed word by word. Besides this, field notes regarding the environment, impressions, behaviors, and non-verbal cues may be taken by the researcher. These field notes are used during the process of analysis so that all that happened during the interview, which cannot be recorded, is not missed out or overlooked at the time of data analysis. Though it may not be formal, it is meaningful as it carries sensitive information relevant to the research. The feminist research, there is another angle to the process, the power relation between the researcher and the researched. Feminist researchers and those on whom the research is being done do not belong to the same power hierarchy. Thus, what is revealed by the respondents may not be received in the same light. It is argued that a non-hierarchical and friendly relationship with the respondents can be developed. In qualitative research, the commonly used methods for data are ethnography. The origin of ethnography is anthropology and is used in culture-related researches to describe a culture and its operations, rituals, and belief systems. The other method is grounded theory, and its later modified versions used face-to-face interviews and interactions such as focus groups to explore a particular research phenomena and may help in clarifying less well understood problem, situation, or context. Phenomenology shares some features with grounded theory, such as exploration of participants' behavior and uses similar techniques to collect data, but it focuses on understanding how human beings experience their worlds. The method of data collection varies from discipline to discipline, subject to subject, issue to issue, and is differently articulated in different researches. Some of the selected methods employed by feminist scholars for collection of data are action, participatory autoethnography, biography, case study, comparative case study, context analysis, conversational analysis, cross-cultural analysis, deconstruction, deviant lithography, discourse analysis, ethnography, ethnomethodology, evaluation, experiential, feminist jurisprudence, focus groups, genealogy, geographic, information system, historiography, institutional ethnography, intersexuality, male-analysis, multi-site, narratology, needs assessment, oral history, participant observation, personal narrative, simulation survey, thick description, unobtrusive observation, visual analysis, interviews, life histories, focus groups and conversational analysis, diaries, letters, documents, text, questionnaires and statistics, content analysis, oral history, ethnography, discourse analysis, and participant and non-participant observation. Of these, interviews are most commonly used in feminist research. Matters has observed that it is the best way of collecting high quality data, and the researcher gets to know about the respondents' complex social world. In-depth interviews are guided conversations and informal probing to facilitate a discussion in an unstructured manner. Focus groups are popular in feminist qualitative research. First, focus groups are a contextual method, that is, they avoid focusing on individual, devoid of social context or separate from interaction with others. Second, focus groups are a relatively non-hierarchical method, that is, they shift the balance of power away from the researcher. Third, focus groups have potential to help them and collectively change that consciousness by fostering collective identities and solidarities. The respondents gain confidence, feeling that they have a right to speak and an authority to act, giving rise to sense of emancipation. Case study is an empirical inquiry that investigates contemporary phenomena in its real life context, especially when the boundaries between phenomena and context are not clearly evident. The case study is a common qualitative method which allows for use of multiple methods of triangulation and reflects an attempt to secure an in-depth understanding of a phenomena in question. In case study, women's experiences, knowledge and perspectives are documented. The case study method helps in understanding of complexities of social phenomena completely. The case study method allows participating women to construct their own realities and arrive at their own truths based on their lived experiences and on their own terms. Discourse analysis summarizes discourse. Discourse, as defined by Foucault, both reflects and shapes the way we experiences and interpret the world around us. Discourses can be understood as structured discussions, with each discourse providing its own version of the truth, asserting their experiences and proposing different strategies for dealing with issues. The dominant discourses not only get institutionalized in key discursive sites such as state laws and constitutions, but are also reference norms, thus silencing or marginalizing all other opposing discourses. Accordingly, Foucault expressed perspectives are based on background assumptions which are themselves the necessary or implicit starting points behind a particular way of speaking about a phenomena. Feminist research is part of feminist activism, almost an institutionalization of women's movements. It may be for general purpose of consciousness and education, or to formulate, lobby, or influence policy and legislation, to prepare for or in conjunction with a specific development or welfare intervention, to prepare institutions for gender's mainstreaming and reformation. It is utilized for feminist protest. Relationships between participants and researchers have power inequalities. This is evident in the research process during data collection. The researchers have mentioned that this inequality has to be disrupted. The experiences of the participants has to be noted, and it is of great importance, not the interest of the researcher. To minimize the power gaps between researchers and his participants, the participation action research may be adopted. Here, the participant becomes a co-researcher. Another way of reducing power imbalances in research is by giving roles in the research or designing research. Basically, the participant is given ownership of research and knowledge. The impact of researcher's self is bound to have an impact on the respondent's voice, no matter how cultural or structural similarity they share, like class, age, gender, etc. This does not guarantee knowing or better knowing. Being an insider is not the straightforward route to knowing. There are dilemmas in understanding and interpreting narratives, experience, and lives of others. This has been extensively debated, that in feminist research, how far the experience and voice of others can be heard and assessed. The accounts of narratives become transformed into theory, and stages of interpretation and processes of transformation of narrative into knowledge is of importance. Reflexivity is the central principle of feminist methodology. Reflexivity is a researcher's examination of her chosen methods, her role in the research, her relationship with the participant, and how her social positions affects the research process. The researcher's own biases and perspectives have an impact on the meaning-making process. Most feminist researchers openly reflect on, acknowledge, and document these social location and roles they play in co-creating data and in constructing knowledge. The feminist research aims at making research process objective. The debate that is going on is whether research can and should be done by people who are socially located outside the group they are researching. Standpoint theories place women's experiences and lives at the center of research. They acknowledge that experiences produce knowledge, and knowledge divorced from experience is colonizing, appropriate, and oppressive. They feel that those who have suffered marginalization can understand it better, and therefore the knowledge that is produced is more accurate. Knowledge is partial, and therefore people in marginalized positions don't speak from a true perspective, but from a different perspective. The principles on which feminist research is based are hotly debated, but there is agreement on the following aspects. There is inequality in our society, which has been constructed on gender lines, and this has left women as a group subordinated to men in terms of socio-economic status and decision-making power. Highlighting the experiences of women through research and allowing their voices to be heard may help in making these inequalities more widely recognized and may encourage political action to redress oppressive practices. The transformation of society through empowerment and emancipation of women. According to Gribbich, the processes of data analysis and qualitative research are complex and can be referred to as the 3 P's: person, process, and presentation. These are key issues. Impact of researchers' views and voices in the research journey, its impact on data collected, then the design and method undertaken, and the quality of data that has been managed, and also the display of findings and theoretical interpretation of the analyzed data presented for the user to access. The position of women in society. The feminist research is undertaken when the position of women in society is of primary importance. Questions close to the lives of women or pertaining to women should be asked, like, why do women earn less than men in most professions? Why do so few women achieve senior positions in societies? It focuses on inequality and has the capacity to empower women. This is a major strength of feminist research. A major weakness is that it considers men as a group controlling the patriarchal system that is disempowering the women. Most analytical approaches have been strongly linked to particular forms of data collection. Interpretation of data will depend on theoretical standpoint taken by researchers. In feminist research, as obvious, the feminist standpoint theory is the main choice of the researcher. It, among other things, focuses on marginalized groups of society. According to Sutton and Zubin-Austin, to analyze the data, if the researcher wants to know what the respondent experienced, he may adopt a phenomenological approach to try to see the experience from the person's perspective. It is important for the researcher has to keep in mind his or her standpoint. For such analysis, the coder could reflect upon her own experience as a female of a majority ethno-cultural group who has lived within middle class and upper middle class settings. Jane Sutton and Zubin-Austin further put in that the process of data interpretation, interviews or focus groups have to be audio recorded followed by transcription. Transcribing is a tiring process. All audio recordings should be transcribed verbatim, no matter how intelligible the transcript may be when it is read back. No one should know who the participant is. After transcription, the audio should be matched with the transcript. All the short gaps or stops should be noted. Any sound, even if it is not meaningful, must be noted. Coding begins after transcription is completed. Field notes compiled during an interview can be useful. Coding refers to the identification of topics, issues, similarities, and differences that are revealed through the participants' narratives and interpreted by the researcher. This process enables the researcher to begin to understand the world from each participant's perspective. Coding can be done by making notes in the margin or by highlighting the name and naming sections of the text. Theming refers to drawing together of codes and one or more transcripts to present the findings of qualitative research in a coherent and meaningful way. This process validates the researcher's standpoint, why he has arrived at this conclusion. Thus, when the findings are organized for presentation, each theme may become the heading of a section in the report or presentation. Underneath each theme will be the codes, examples from the transcripts, and researchers' own interpretation of what the themes mean. Data synthesis, this helps to bring out meaning of the respondents' life experiences. This synthesis is the aim of the final stage of qualitative research. Thus, the reader is informed that the themes under discussion have been derived from the participants' interviews and not from the beliefs and ideas of the researcher. Planning and writing the report is an important part. The final presentation of the research will usually be in the form of a report or a paper, and so should follow accepted academic guidelines. Feminist research methodology has an agenda of change, empowerment, and emancipation of participants are the contentious issues of feminist research. Feminist approach to data collection and interpretation are rather complex. The diversity of the issues due to multidisciplinary nature of feminist research and due to class, ethnicity, gender, etc., make it different from all other researches. Thank you.